Hello everybody and welcome to another Gingereno Let's Play of Pillars of Eternity. I'm your host, Eric, aka Gingereno. Thanks everybody for joining me today. This Let's Play is primarily for those who are excited about Avowed, but they're not really into the CRPG genre of games. You know, the whole Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment, that kind of stuff, or, of course, Pillars of Eternity. But you're wanting to see the world in the game, so here you are. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here with us. I'm doing a critical play let's play, so this will be just sort of the main story quests, and I might mop up the side quests after this main one is done. We're almost done, so let's actually jump into what we're doing today. All right, here we are. We are in...
This elder of yours, he may have returned a drunk or an invalid.
Maybe, but the search for Persoc is just as important as what I find.
Is that right? And what if you return empty-handed, huh?
I never return empty-handed.
There you go. Sagani here is looking for man, words. Sorry about that. Sagani here is looking for a ancestor of her, not so much an ancestor, I guess a descendant of her tribe, an important person, so they can pass on him. I'll leave it to you to find out later if we mop up her side quest, but she's looking for a person named Persoc's new reincarnation. Endurance is just being an ass. Anyways, here we are at Elm's Reach. We just came out of Ter Evran to get the blessing from Hylia, which we got for dealing with the dragon back at her temple. And I took a quick detour into the Blood Sands because I find that druidic cult absolutely fascinating. Like, they're just the craziest bunch of weirdos. Everything they do is absolutely bonkers. So, yeah, I did that. Now we're just gonna head over to Burial Isle and jump into a giant pit and hope that the goddess of the sky and creation and songs and birds and childbearing and maternity doesn't let me die. And here we are. All right, Dorvhall, what's your deal?
What brings you here?
A thin, ragged man stands waiting on the barge, leaning in on the oar. A smile of greeting splits his weathered features. It has been a very long time since an outsider sought passage to the Burial Isle. What's the Burial Isle? It's a sacred place, for it sits upon the great works of the builders, there by our ancestors. All our Onumfoths are laid to rest. Few go there, my friend. It is not a place where the living to walk. The builders, capital B builders here, refers to the Engwithan's name given to the... not the Engwithan, sorry. Gives the Glonfothan's name to the ancient civilization known as the Engwithans, which is what the name is known by in other locations. Is it dangerous? Darvel nods solemnly. Those I bring to the island return the same way, or else not at all. It is home only to the dead. Spirits, shades of the builders remain and watch over the Amanfatha. They are bound to the island and protect it fiercely. Well, take me across. Darvel inclines his head and acknowledges. I will. Take care that you do not lose your footing. These waters have a fickle temper. Court of the Penitents. Penitent. It's almost like Pentiment, that new game coming out. All right. The Demogorgon Sister of the Twin Elms know that Theos has escaped in the subterranean path to an Engwithan location called Sun and Shadow. It's a underground area that we're trying to get to. I've reached the shores of Burial Isle, somewhere to the island. The Court of the Penitents offers a way into Breith Eamon and to Sun and Shadow. So we're going to go... We're on Burial Isle. We got to find Court of the Penitents so we can get to Breith Eamon, so we can get to Sun and Shadow, and... spoiler alert, beat the game. And here's Dorval to send us back if we want to return.
I have trod more secret and sacred places in your company than I could have imagined.
Do you remember when we were children, and the missionaries came to tell us about the gods? They told us we could see them in the stars. I remember when I heard that, I snuck out at night and climbed the watchtower in the old fort, because I wanted to see them better. That fort burned down a few years ago, when we cast the missionaries out. It was the missionaries who set fire to it. They didn't want us to be able to use it. Shame. There was history in that fort.
They'll do a lot worse if they ever return. Those missionaries are all inquisitors now. Strange to think they are the same people underneath, but I suppose you would know. She looks at you. This is your home as much as it is mine. Do you worry about it? Our being here puts Greytum at risk. I wish I could say I thought otherwise, but hearing someone else say it helps settle some things in my mind.
I miscalculated many things since this began. I'm relieved you weren't one of them. It's a good thing we didn't hang you.
Oh yeah, good. Thanks for that.
I always knew this path would have consequences, but I never wanted to see Greytum suffer on my behalf. I don't think I can stay here any longer. I am told the Inquisition is gathering an army, that they have sent messengers to bargain with rulers from distant lands. Greytum is not built to withstand a siege. If war is coming, I should be doing what Theos is doing. I will need allies. Allies on a stronghold that can resist an invading army.
You can feel words formed long ago rising in your throat like a toxic black bile. Have you thought about Oceanus?
Oceanus. They have held off many would-be invaders, and their king has no love of the Inquisition's faith. I wonder, would he listen?
Oh, almost pronounced it properly. Whoop, there are things appearing inside the fog of war. It's time to get going, guys. Ready? Sneak.
Hello.
Let's go.
Hello?
When designing and blocking out this area, I wanted to convey a sense of a bygone grandeur, an advanced civilization crumbled into pieces, and a feeling of foreboding as you approach the top of the island. Sort of where Wurika's temple and prison, Breith Eamon, opens its mystical maws to the world outside. One of our talented environment artists, son Danny, did a terrific job in bringing this 3D layout to life into a beautiful scene. At one point we considered having statues of the gods flanked the way up, but eventually the idea settled on an even better outcome in my view. The area became a domain of Wurika, and we used the massive statues of her heralds to foreshadow the endgame mini-bosses that assist Theos in the final confrontation. Another thing we changed from the original design was the way in which you arrived to the island. We had this horn seen in Old Song that would call the bargeman to take you across, but that's a little bit too similar to the ancient Greek myth of crossing the river Styx with Charon. So, in addition to other concerns, we got rid of the requirement to obtain the Anamentha's permission to access Perla.
Alright then, you got some game commentary. I don't know what that was. Doesn't seem to be doing anything to me. Alright. Well, onward. Feral Druid. Are you guys ready to watch me do a whole bunch of combat? Maybe I should just speed up through this whole thing so we can get on with the story. Ooh, we're going to stop here because we have a unique sword, and unique sword means lore. This is Last Blade of the White Forge. The White Forge has to do with the White March DLC, which comes with this game if you get the Ultimate Edition or Definitive, whatever it's called. Anyways, unique sword, one-handed. This is the lore for the sword. The famed White Forge of Durgan's Battery produced some of the greatest weapons and pieces of armor known in the Eastern Reach. The White Forge's dwarven smiths carefully guarded the secret techniques they used to craft Durgan steel, legendary for its strength, flexibility, and ability to hold a sharp edge. When Durgan's battery was overrun by an unknown force, the fires of the White Forge went dark, and the secrets of Durgan steel died with its smiths. The owner of this sword was an Orlan from Twin Elms who claimed he found the naked blade near the skeleton of a dwarf in the foothills near Stalwart, which is an area in the mountains. Many were skeptical of his claims that it was a Durgan steel blade, but it bore the maker's mark of the White Forge. The Orlan had artisans from the Fisher Crane tribe create a guard, grip, and pommel to dress the blade, resulting in its unusual appearance. The proud owner's luck did not last long. He went missing somewhere near Elmshore shortly after receiving his finished sword. Many locals believe that he had been killed for his prize, but neither he nor his weapon were ever seen again. We get a lot of information here about Durgan Steel and the White Forge, and the lore about how it's kind of lost to time how to make this stuff. But you'll learn more about it in the White March DLC if we ever decide to do anything about it. Anyways, back to Speedy, McSpeedy Face. Huh. No big deal. Look at these things. My goodness. Gross looking. All right. Here we are.
Another turn, Inquisitor.
Theo signals some unseen attendant standing beside a large crank. Oh, that must be Iovara, never mind.
I ask again, Iovara Exensios, do you confess to these heresies of which you stand accused?
He waits, but Iovara only stares straight ahead, her face stony, the creak of her restraints the only sound.
Do you confess to apostasy?
I confess to renouncing a mistake.
Do you confess to conspiracy against the one true faith?
I confess to opening minds.
Do you confess to false prophecy?
I confess to following a false prophet.
Indeed. And where might we find this heretic?
He wears the robes of a Grand Inquisitor.
You have no followers here, heretic. Your lies hold no sway in the court of the penitents.
Only my truth, then.
Another turn.
No! Wait! Wait! I'm ready. I'm ready.
You are ready to give a confession?
I'm ready to hear one from you.
Theos shakes his head and points to the Inquisitor, and the scraping grind of rusted gears echoes in your mind as the apparitions fade away. It seems like there's some sort of narrative going on in this game where they're making religions look bad.
No time to lose nerve now, Watcher. What's one more trial for a soul on the brink of doom?
You know, Durance, it's really rude to interrupt. I was talking to everybody. I guess I could have just paused, but whatever. Every wrinkle and boil carved into Wodaka statue looks painfully familiar. Look at that. That is the Burned Queen. That is a statue dedicated to Wodaka. She's got burned flesh and a broken crown. She's a real piece of work, everybody. You're gonna have to take my word for it. Yeah. Let's see if we survive this hole. A great pit lies in the shadow of the statue of Wodica. No light from the surface reaches the bottom, but even so, you catch flickers of a ghostly glow in the depths. A wind from the pit buffets you. It isn't cold, but it raises a goose flesh amongst your arms. The wind carries a whisper, low and sibilant. I hope I said that right. As you look into the pit, souls gather around you. They encase you in a cloud of essence that swirls around your body while you consider your next move. Clearly, I'm going to jump into the pit. You jump, trusting in the promises of the gods and the power of the souls to bear you safely down. The sudden drop takes your breath away, but the souls catch you, encasing you in a shining, thrumming aura. But while they slow your descent, you can still feel that you are falling faster than you should. The essence flowing around you is strong but chaotic, and you find yourself drifting toward the wall. The wall, Eric! Don't have that. Don't have that. Reach for a companion. You reach out and feel a hand, strong and sure, wrap around your forearm. It tugs you away from the wall just as you feel your toe graze something. You manage to spread your arms and legs into an X, steadying your position at a rate of your descent. You reach the Court of Penitence, millennia-old stones safely under your feet.
After what seems like an eternity, your rapid descent comes to an abrupt end. You remain still for a moment while your heart settles and your eyes adjust, breathing in stale, forgotten air. Before you, a narrow and eroded walkway becomes faintly visible in the dim light, cutting a winding path through a cavern so expansive it seems a world unto itself. In the distance, you can make out the cold gleam of living Adra veins that spike and fork in and out of view from the murky depths beneath. Their glow a faint and fleeting guide along the ancient trail. You look above at the opening you jumped through, now barely a speck of light like some distant star alone in the cosmos and forever out of reach. Your only way lies ahead.
Well, that went better than I expected.
Think I dislocated my... That's better.
Everyone all right? No shattered knees? Good. Just me, then.
That was bracing.
Yep. All right, then. Fun fact, if you try to jump into this pit without the blessing of the gods, you will die. The game will totally kill you. So, yeah.
All right, then.
Just be forewarned. Here we are in Breith Eamon, the soul prison. I'm sure we'll get some developer commentary right away.
The Court of Penitence, Breith Eamon, a prison for souls, and a temple dedicated to Utica. This fine layout was first put in place by Matt Perez, one of the designers that joined Obsidian to work on Pillars of Eternity. The render itself was handled, I think, expertly by April Giron. This location became really important to the main story as its development progressed. Originally, it was just supposed to be its own temple, detached from Burial Isle, to which you travel after arriving to Twin Elms. As it often happens in game development, though, the realities of the tight schedule prompted us to move it to Burial Isle, making it part of Wodica's temple and placing it right next to an underground shortcut that lets you discover the buried city of Sun and Shadow.
Cool stuff. Cool stuff. All right. Now, if I remember correctly, this place is riddled with traps. And actually, do I have autopause on? Who's the most perceptive? This is a thing that I should probably know. Who is going to see the most? We got there. Kana's winning. Yeah, not surprised there. Okay, I am going to change things up a little bit. We are going to put Sagani up front. Simply because she has the best chance of seeing. Oh, cancel that movement. Who saw it? Durance? He's got the least perception.
Something over there.
Oh boy. You know what? I think it's son of a gun. Who got it? Adair, you're gonna get smoked.
Now this I haven't seen before. Keeping an eye out.
Boy, oh boy. What riveting Let's Plays this is. A millennium's worth of dust fizz in the cracks and crevices of this skeletal relief. Watch as we slowly creep across a bridge that Gingereno knew was trapped, and yet walked across anyways. Hey, I got experience points for just exploring. That's always nice. Oh, and there's a shade. That's always fun. I don't want to fight the Spectre. I'm gonna have to fight the Spectre. There's gonna be a lot of fighting. Maybe I should just do another speed run of combat? Now, let's find out.
All right then.
That's what I was gonna say. Should I just... A pillar tugs at your essence, a pulse from the world itself moves through it. If you notice really, really closely on each of these little rocks in here, they got this like weird, it looks like a triple Ouroboros kind of symbol. I'm not sure what that is. I feel it looks really familiar, but it's just not coming to mind what that is.
All right then.
Representing. More. Okay, I'm just gonna be quiet and go through this quickly. Oh man, I tripped a trap there that really did some good damage, so I'm gonna have to remember to quick save, and quick save often. Speaking of which, quick save, because I only have 3 campfires left, so I'm gonna want to spend my time wisely. I have a feeling I might have to console command kill the final boss. I have not been doing a good job with this stuff. Ooh, exposition. This is a good story point too. Iovara. A column of Adra rises above you, stoic and silent, its rigid layers a measuring stick for the passing of ages. It feels to you as a thick block of ice, and you perceive buried deep in its core a dim, flickering flame, all but extinguished yet preserved against the ravages of the elements. At your approach, the flame seems to steady and draw strength, and the layers separating it from you melt away, and you are bathed in its glow, a bright beacon in the gloom. The glow seems to fade, as though you have adjusted to its intensity, and where it was, Iovara seeps into existence, an idyllic shade hovering above the moist prison floor. Though ageless, she appears somehow different to you now, a slight stoop to her carriage, perhaps, or a trace of sunkenness in her eyes. There is a broad scar across her face, fibrous and wormy where flames once lapped, unhealed even in death.
My old pupil. You are a welcome sight, but a worrying one as well. Do you still wander lost in the darkness after all these many years? You are so different now from who you were then, yet much remains the same. Old troubles with a new face. What is it that has brought you here?
It would seem that I have unfinished business here.
I'd hoped after our last discussion you would find what you sought. Has it eluded you all this time? I can only guess your presence here has something to do with Theos. The energy of this place changes when he is near. I don't know what he has done, but I do know of the souls that pass through here now. They do not come by choice.
Yeah, Theos diverted them from the cycle. He seeks to empower Woodica, and to blame Animancy for the damage he's caused.
After all this time, he would still stand against the tide.
You knew me when Theos did. There's something I need to know about that time.
I will tell you what I remember.
There's something about that lifetime my soul can't let go of. I need to know what it is, and I'm running out of time. I see moments from that life. Of you, of the Inquisition, of Theos.
I can see his influence, still hanging like a weight about your neck. So it always was. He had inspired something in you. We spoke of him the last time you were here also. It was just after the trial. You were agitated. I think because you started to consider that what I was teaching may have been true.
And what was that? Iovara's mouth tightens and her brow furrows, a look of pity. Her eyes shift back and forth between each of yours, as if looking for something that would help her decide whether to speak.
That the gods aren't real.
Dun, dun, dun. What?
I'd dreaded the idea from the moment the Delimgon suggested it. And yet, it almost feels like a relief. She's not serious.
Perhaps not to her. Many are those whom the gods have scorned. This is petty retribution. But that's not... Is that the truth we've come for? That even the gods are false?
That doesn't seem possible.
What I taught was that the gods whose faith we had been spreading were not gods at all, but something else entirely. Something created by people.
Well, who created these gods then, and for what?
They were conceived by Engwith, a society of high minds and broad concerns. Theos' people. In their time, every people worshipped its own gods. Sometimes they warred over it. After a few wars of their own, the Engwithans sought an end to it. They devoted all their energy to finding the true creators. Generation after generation, they prodded and worked the stitching of the world and unlocked its secrets. One day, they found an answer. Except the answer was no answer at all. There were no gods to be found. Or if there ever were, they were gone. It shook them, this finding. If they could discover this on their own, how long until others would? How long before war and chaos reigned over a world without consequence? But they had mastered many things in their pursuit of these answers. And with their mastery, they crafted their own gods to fill the void, and sent missionaries to the corners of the world to spread their faith.
How did you discover this?
The Engwithan missionaries all knew it, but they never told the rest of us. They meant it to be a secret that died with them, and in the end, they allowed their bloodlines to fade from memory. I had been assigned to join a few of them at a temple. I found the door to their chambers closed, but the room was stone and the door thin. Their voices carried. I heard enough. I investigated the things they spoke of, and everything was there, just as they said it'd be.
Later on, I left the Order, and a few Engwithans found my words persuasive and joined my cause. They revealed what I did not already know. This is why you started your own faith?
I never thought of it as faith, but I think you are right to call it that. Let the world see. Let them decide what to do. That was my faith. I became a missionary because the gods brought me hope that I wanted to bring to others. For a time, the truth sent me to a dark place. Then the day came when I realized nothing had changed, that I still had a purpose, and the purpose was the same and it was worth living for. I began questioning the other missionaries in public, exposing their parlor tricks. In time, their following became mine.
Is it true, what you taught?
You asked me this once before. Nothing I can say would be any proof, and it may be certainty your soul craves. Resolution. But if you are bound for the same place Theos directs these souls, you will see for yourself, as you once did. Everyone faces this truth at one time or another. Few confront it. Few have the stomach to ask what if. And in avoiding the question, they deny themselves an identity of their own.
Iovara scans her audience in silence, her eyes thoughtful, lingering on each member of your company in turn, finding interest in things unseen.
What if all the tragedy, all the persecution, came in defense of an imposter?
She looked to Adair.
That's not... That can't be right. Aethys, he's done miracles for people.
The power of the gods is undeniable. The truth of the story they weave is not. What if it were forbidden knowledge rather than fault that earned your doom? What of your guilt?
She turned attention to Durrance.
Margaret set a path for me. She is fickle and cruel, but that is how she teaches. You know nothing of the fires that have shaped me.
And what if the fires themselves were lies? Lies you told yourself to bridge the gap between experience and truth.
Beads of sweat coalesce on Durrance's forehead and trickle down the sides of his face in streaming rivulets, as though he were a block of ice standing before a great pyre.
What if you had always been alone, without guidance?
Her eyes settle on Alof.
Well, as poorly as I've chosen my guides, I suppose it would be a comfort to know that I'm free of them.
The freedom has always been. It was the guidance that was the illusion. If all our common threads are spun from a lie, what's left to bind us together?
She looked up at Kanarua.
I don't know. I never found the answers I sought. But after all we have seen, I think the gods are not enough. Perhaps the threads are unraveling. The lies too old. I think maybe we are all meant to be divided. Every effort, every search for a single truth will end in failure, because there is no single truth. We seek simple answers where there are none.
Threads spun from falsehoods tend to unravel on their own, my friend. For it is in our natures to seek truth. What if our burdens come to us not because they are meant to be, but because they happen to be?
Her gaze shifts to Sagani.
We fulfill them anyway, because they still matter to the people around us, even if we know better.
You feel the weight of Iovara's translucent eyes upon your soul. What if we can be assured of nothing? The only values and things we create ourselves, we are the best builders, things we can bear, the only beings we can the only when we cease to exist as beings can peace be found. Then is the questions that have been always posed more valuable than their answers. Fewer people realize that the better, then all we can do is endure. I don't know. Then it is the questions that have always posed more value than their answers.
Well, isn't that what brought us here? Seeking the man who's haunted you for lifetimes? Who I've unwittingly followed for years?
A question is a journey, and a journey is what makes us who we are, it's true. But when one journey leads only to the next, then where may one find rest? I ask these things not to trouble you, but to show why they must be confronted. No answer is simple, but somewhere between them all lies a truth so beautiful, not even a god could conceive it. Do we not owe ourselves a chance to find our part in it?
Nobody would know that things happen for a reason, if every reason better than at all. We do, even without assurances, there's... No, I don't think it makes much difference either way.
I often wonder that myself. If things had gone differently, if the world had taken my faith instead of the Anguithan's faith, would it truly be what I had envisioned? I've been alone here with my thoughts for so long now. I've found peace with my failures and with my punishment. I no longer curse fate for what might have been. But there is one thing that has clawed and scraped at my mind all these years. One thing that will not be put to rest until I know. Until I understand.
For the first time, hints of doubt trace her serene visage.
I need to know why you chose to remain with the Inquisition, even after you'd learned the truth. Do you remember?
As she asks, the memory springs to your mind immediately, as though it had just happened. Let's see, what are my options? Your teachings were a threat to all I believed in. I resented you. I wanted to please the gods. Your capture brought me glory. I was afraid of what Theos might do if you agreed to it. I don't think I had a reason. I just did it. Sorry, there are no assurances. I don't think I had a reason. I just did it.
All these years thinking about it, I don't think I ever imagined you did it without cause. This changes things.
Yep, that's me.
Good. Good. The things I taught, the things I believed, I needed to hear that. I needed to know it wasn't because...
Because what? I needed to know that it wasn't because, after everything you'd learned, you'd still rather believe in a lie. If that is the conclusion people reach once they know everything, then my purpose has been a mistake. That seems a harsh connection to draw.
You were a blank slate to me once. A blank slate that I had taught the wrong things. I'd given you a false faith. I had to know I could undo what I had done. Redirect you to embrace the truth. You had heard both sides, seen everything. If not you, then who?
You're not gonna be able to convince everyone of anything, true or not. There will always be dissent.
I expected dissent. But I needed to know that true faith would prevail. Perhaps I've been wrong to place so much importance on one person's actions. It was all I could do to feel like there was an answer. Even knowing what you've told me, some part of me knows it doesn't truly answer what I wished to know. Nor will an eternity of silent contemplation. I will have only my guesses and suspicions, and that will have to do. And what of your understanding of our past? Are you at ease with the choice you made?
I see the world differently now than I once did, and I regret what I did to you, and I wish your forgiveness.
There is nothing to forgive. The fault was always mine. I led you down the path that led to Theos. When I tried to steer you back, it was too late. To have taught someone wrong is far worse than to have done wrong yourself. Long have I wished to make amends for this, but the time has long since passed. At first I thought this might be the source of your soul's anguish, but now I see I was mistaken. You are not divided on this matter. You have put it behind you. It is with Theos that your agony lies, in sun and shadow. Your questions are not for me, but for him. And it may be that only an answer from the mouth of Theos himself will satisfy your needs. Yet if there is anything I can tell you that would be of use, ask and you shall know.
Are you bound here until the end of time?
In a matter of speaking. This is Breith Eamon, the court of the penitents. Souls are confined here until they repent. They must beg the forgiveness of a god, pledge their soul to them, and they will be lifted from this place to the world above. In truth, they receive leniency, but not true mercy. The spite of Woodica is eternal. They linger above, at the side of the old court, and are not permitted to leave the island, forever severed from the cycle.
Rude. This is a big deal because there's like I've mentioned in previous Let's Play episodes, the world of Era runs on a cycle of reincarnation, and this basically traps your soul from ever leaving. So basically you die, but then you're aware of how you're just consciously aware that you're trapped in this prison forever. And even if you repent, Woodica is kind of a dick, and even though she'll let you go above to the world, She won't let you leave the island, so you're still trapped from the cycle.
This prison was full once in the days of the Inquisition. But time weathers all things, even will. I'm the only tenant who remains. Yet, I feel their presence strongly now, as it was in the beginning. You have brought many of them here. They cry out for the judgment of Theos. You have struck some bargain with the gods, then.
The other gods aid me because they want Theos destroyed. I owe them no debt.
They aid you because they would bend you to their own purposes. Engwith built gods from ideals, and an ideal on its own is a grotesque and vicious thing. But these souls, these forgiven, the gods have bequeathed you like chattel. They were loyal followers in life. They will be with you to the very end.
Why don't you repent? You could be free of this place.
Last time someone asked me that, I was bound to an iron wheel with a broken spine. There are many things I've come to doubt about the choices I made in life. But that trial was my one moment of certainty. Even without a chorus of gods to tell me I had been right. The gods need to be reminded that we have a spirit, and that spirit is proof against their power. They have the power to manipulate and confuse and ruin us, but not to change our will. I will remain here until the world crumbles and fades from existence, with joy in my heart, knowing I've shown them what they truly are.
Do you know what it is I need from Theos?
I could not say for sure. But you have been to Sun and Shadow before, and it came at a crossroads in your life, when much of what you knew had been upended. I have to believe it will come to you there. Your concerns then were of loyalty and trust and the gods. Everything I told you seemed to send you further into doubt. His words mattered to you when you knew him then. After you and I spoke, you went immediately to seek him out. Perhaps you simply sought confirmation from the man you trusted. If something from that time still troubles you, it may be something he told you then, or refused to tell you. He keeps secrets better than any in this world.
How can I get Theos to tell me what I need to know?
You will not find a more resolute being on all of Eora. There is no offer you could make, nor spell you could cast, nor pain you could inflict that would make him reveal what he hides. But I see you have become a watcher in this life. Perhaps in defeat, when he can no longer defend himself, you might learn something from him.
Well, it's time for me to go.
Theos will not wait for you. If you do not catch up to him now, you may never find him again.
Well, then why have you been wasting... Oh, my God. Strength to find the... If you repent, you can try it. You should find your solution. You're a slave to the gods, bound to the rules. If you hadn't planned to doubt my life, I will know now before I go. I will repay you for this curse. What? Alright, cool. Well, then I'll waste no more time. Farewell, Iovara.
For my part in leading you to Theos in the very beginning, I hope you can forgive me. I hope whatever final guidance I've given you here proves more useful.
Yep, okay, thanks.
If ever we should meet again,
Alright.
in this life or any other, I hope to find you at peace.
Me too. Okay, later. Oh, boy. That was a massive story point. The gods, according to Iovara, are not real. They are simply created. That's bonkers crazy. Well, let that sink in for a bit. Well, I see what this is all about. The pillar tugs at us inside. Oh, we already know that. Well, there you go. That's the big massive thing here. 1 second. That's the big massive spoiler. So there you go. We just learned a real big part of the story right before we go off to confront Theos and end the game. Thanks everyone for joining me on today's episode. We're gonna cut it off here and finish the game off on the next episode. Look at that, 16 episodes, roughly an hour each. It's close to 16 hours. This has been awesome, guys. I've been having a lot of fun. I hope this has been enlightening for you as well, that y'all have been able to get into the world of Eora, learn a little bit more about the place that we're in and all this stuff. Maybe you're getting hyped for Avowed. Maybe you're just wanting to see a little bit more of the game. I don't know. But I'm glad you could be here for me. Be here with me, on this journey. And now, you hear whispers? I think they're like giving me a recipe for like chocolate chip cookies or something. Anyways, let's see. Oh boy. I want to read one of the lore pieces. Actually, let's top it off with something out of the encyclopedia and the lore. Now, what should we look at? Deities. These Andra animats. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go back to one of these books. We're going to read them. Ooh, the Final Journal of Jonas. This is always a good one. So this is the scripture for Skane, the god of violent rebellion, secret hatred, and other evil things like that. So this is a journal from Jonas to his son. It's a little grotesque. I'll outline what we're talking about through this here, and then we'll end the episode. My son, tomorrow I become the effigy. The effigy is Skane's manifestation in the world. So when Skane becomes a physical being in the world, he becomes it through the effigy. However, he doesn't just spawn into existence. His followers have to perform a grotesque ritual to create the effigy. Tomorrow I, being Jonas, become the effigy. Tomorrow I become Skane's embodiment on Iovara. Tomorrow my master chokes on his own whip. For months we met by secret conclave to plot our landlord's demise, all the while working the fields as if our hearts were content. Skane teaches us to plot with the mind while keeping one's face impassive, inscrutable. Fair fights are for those with armies. The quiet slave, that's another name for Skane, is our whetstone, our focus. In his worship our cause finds focus, clarity, and possibility. Tomorrow, my master chokes on his own whip. By the time you read this, I will be dead. I pray Skane does not abandon me for speaking of my plotting, but a son deserves to know how his father died. For I have volunteered to be the effigy. Skane will inhabit my body using this old farmer's simple flesh as a puppet of godly rage. I have been shaved and anointed. Tomorrow morning, I will be your father in name only, as my manhood will be removed, my nose and ears removed, and my useless mortal eyes will be replaced with flint stones through which Skane might see the world. My son, I am sorry for the lies I have told you these past few seasons, but Skane demands secrecy. Even your mother knows nothing of my furtive service to the quiet slave. Curse my name if you must, but never weep for me, for I die for the betterment of our community, to smite our lord's corruption from the face of Iovara. Tomorrow my master chokes on his own whip, for tomorrow I become the effigy. Bum, bum, bum. So we actually learn a lot about following Skane, the god Skane, and how he becomes the effigy. So there's this horrible ritual that you have to perform where essentially you will be shaved and you will be anointed, covered in oil. Your genitals will be removed, your nose and ears removed, and your eyes will be replaced with stones. And in this ritual, Skane will then possess your body and release his godly rage upon the world. And the purposes behind something like this, like why people worship the god Skane, is because they like to take down corrupted leadership. Now, that makes them sound pretty noble, but I'm going to tell you right now that Skanites tend to do some pretty shady and awful stuff. So while there might be the occasional person who has got some good intentions on getting rid of corrupt rulers, there's a lot of evil stuff that goes along with Skane. In fact, worshipping Skane means you have to keep everything secret. You're not even allowed to talk about it, except with other fellow Skanites. So deception is just part of the game. But yeah, there you go. That's the Final Journal of Jonas, the follower of Skane. Thanks everyone for joining me in today's episode. If you've enjoyed this, hit me up on Twitter at Gingereno42 or email me gingereno42@gmail.com. Thanks for joining me, guys, and I'll see you next time.